talking to Mark about his men's group. Could you say a bit more about your men's group, Mark, to the audience?
Yes, we're very happy to do that, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the men's group is something I started as a consequence of the lockdowns and that regime pushed down on our rights and freedoms. I attended protest during 2020, like a lot of people, and on one of the drives back on the coach from a protest, I heard this conversation between two guys who were talking in a very animated way, clearly very stirred up by what we witnessed on the protest, and the need to be doing something about it. And they were talking in terms of structure, and when I say structure, I mean assemblies, organising, that paradigm. And what struck me at the time was that something was saying to me, and again, those of you listening to this who meditate and do vibrational work will get what I'm talking about, because it was a felt sense of something, was that they were missing something. They're like they were missing a trick. And my sense of it was they were doing things back to front. But even then, back in 2020, I was clear in my own sense of things that we were at the beginning, if you like, of a process where there was going to be huge change, regardless of what the paradigm at the time, the regime, as Dave's first of them the beings, regardless of what they thought was going to happen, there was something else happening which was far bigger than what they were planning. And this involved a major shift for every man and woman on the planet to be prepared to really have a good look at their masculinity and femininity from a spiritual, vibrational point of view, to do a deep dive into why they do what they do, think what they think, behave the way they behave, which is something we all need to be doing at this time, I passionately believe. So I heard this conversation happening, and when I tried to share that maybe actually there was something else that needed to happen first, they didn't get it. I can remember them looking at me quite blankly, and that sort of puzzlement, that look of bewilderment on their faces about what is this guy talking about, we've got to organise. But interestingly, there was a woman on the coach also who had just witnessed one of these horrendous scenes of seeing another woman, a young woman, being bundled into the back of a police van having just been arrested by, a crowd of coppers. And she was protesting and trying to resist, but they weren't having it. This woman said she just saw her being manhandled. Very distressing to witness, and of course a lot of that was going on in 2020, and subsequently, of course. And this older woman who witnessed this, she was very upset, but she understood what I was saying. And I think that was her feminine, her divine feminine, understanding that what she was hearing being said from a man was that there was a need for men to start reconnecting with their own feminine. If they were going to step up as men and do what we need to do as men, we need to connect with our own feminine and sort out the mess that is the patriarchy. And that's our job to do. So that was my motivation for doing something, and I started the men's group in 2021. And the way it works is that it's about sharing in a safe environment with other men, if they wish to share feelings, emotions, experiences that take us deep into ourselves, where we look at ourselves, our inner being, if you like. The way it works is that because meetings are held in my home, I basically get to make the rules, which might sound a bit autocratic, but it isn't, because the most fundamental basic rule is that people show each other respect, and that's manifested by respectful listening. So when someone is speaking, no one else is able to talk over them, and I use a talking stick to that purpose. So when a man wants to speak in the group, he holds the talking stick and holds it until he's finished. And if he doesn't want anybody else to make a comment on what he's said, then it's perfectly okay for him to say that he would prefer people just to witness what he said without making a comment on it, and that is respected. So it's about respect, it's about listening, it's about being willing to see the vulnerability in another man if he's willing to share that and show it. So that's basically, Dave, the ethos behind what I do and why I do it.
That's great. Okay, thank you very much, Mark. And also, I was going to say, in terms of, I know there's like different definitions. One of them is toxic masculinity, where men have been perceived by the beings and the media, corrupt media, as perpetrators of violence and misogynists and all sorts of nastiness. Do you think there is such thing as toxic masculinity, or do you think it's something which has been put out there to drive men and women apart and make people more fearful of men?
I personally feel with that it's a very complex question, and there's a lot of different threads to it, and I don't think there is a simple, straightforward answer. So my own personal view would be that the patriarchy operates from a toxic paradigm in the first place. And when I say a toxic paradigm, what I mean is that men, through their conditioning, from the moment they come into this world as a baby, and we've seen this play out over hundreds of thousands of years in cultures, particularly in the West, men are not encouraged to show vulnerability. They're not encouraged to share feelings and emotions. Just think of sayings like, grown men don't cry, stiff upper lip. They're all designed to shut down those vulnerable feelings that a man can have, and to disassociate himself from that part of who he is, which is the divine feminine part, which is a valid, absolute key part of who he is, which needs to be witnessed and integrated, the same as divine masculine. You have to have both, and they have to be in balance and harmony. And if it is being manipulated and twisted to be something else, and that is toxic. So without doubt, it shows up as toxicity. So that's where I would be on that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, great answer there, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in terms of your men's groups, how can people get in touch with you? Is there a certain way people can get in touch with you? Any kind of...
Well, if anyone listening to this would like to find out more, I'm happy for Dave to share my contact telephone numbers and my email address. And I would very much welcome any contact. I'd be very happy to share what I do with anybody, and I'd be happy to meet up with anybody one-to-one who wanted an initial meeting maybe before coming along to a regular meeting. I'm very happy to do that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much. That was Mark doing the men's groups for Stand in the Park. And yeah, thank you very much. And do get in touch if you want more details. So, wish you all well, love and freedom to you all. Thanks for watching.